Uh-oh, that's not good. So it looks like a little critter fruit fly got inside my kombucha jar. That is not great. But don't worry, all hope is not lost. We can still save our kombucha by starting a brand new batch. If you have a working kitchen, you've most likely dealt with fruit flies or some kind of pest or moth getting into your kitchen at some point, especially when you're in and out all the time through the doors. You're bringing in fresh produce from your garden. You probably have had some fruit flies, and unfortunately, sometimes they get into stuff we really don't want them to. Unfortunately, we won't be able to save this SCOBY. We'll have to start fresh, but we don't have to go buy a new SCOBY. We just have to make our own, and I'll show you how. The first thing you're going to want to do is to get a clean sample from your kombucha jar. You want to make sure that there's nothing in there, no larvae or anything, just clean kombucha from the bottom of the jar. I recommend using a small cup. This is a 1/2 pint mason jar, and then we're going to cover it up with a cloth and let it sit. You're going to want to put this someplace where it's not going to be in the sunshine. Inside a cabinet, it would be a great spot. After it's been sitting for a few days to a week, you'll see a new SCOBY form on top of your kombucha. It might fall down like this one has, but don't worry. You can actually see this SCOBY fell down and it's starting to form a second SCOBY on the top here. But don't just throw that fruit fly feast into the garbage. No, no, no. We are going to give this to the animals. They'll enjoy it. They don't mind that there's bugs in it, and it gets to turn into compost, whatever is left over. Now, I have my jar here clean, washed, and sterilized, but to put that tiny little SCOBY into this giant jar, it would swallow it up. So what we need to do next is to gradually increase our container size until we have enough to put it into our large kombucha jar. To feed our kombucha, we need to start with a fresh batch of tea. We start with filtered water, and we use cane sugar, raw cane sugar. Either of these types works. I go back and forth, it doesn't really matter that much. For each 1/2 gallon of tea, we are using 1/2 cup of sugar. Now for our tea. This is my favorite kind of tea. This is from Full Leaf Tea. It's just a plain loose leaf black tea. This is what I use for making my kombuchas. You can also use like an organic tea, but I worry about the chemicals in the bag, so that's why I choose to use the loose leaf teas. So I have this diffuser that I had from an old tea maker that doesn't work anymore, and I just like to nestle this inside of my tea pitcher, and it'll hold onto the tea leaves while it is brewing. And we use 1.5 tablespoons per 1/2 gallon of tea. Once the water is boiling, we pour it in, stir the sugar, and then let this sit just like this until it is room temperature. Don't forget to enjoy a nice cup for yourself while you're making some kombucha tea. You can see the color difference between the kombucha that's been sitting and our fresh tea. We're going to add this into the fresh tea. This is called feeding your kombucha. The mother on top will eat the caffeine and sugar and turn it into more kombucha. And then we'll just cover this, put it back in the cupboard, and wait a few more days until we add more to it. As it's sitting in the cupboard, it will form more layers of the SCOBY on top. My tea order just came in, and we got some, this is what I use for when I'm making kombucha. It's just a plain tea. This is my daughter's favorite. and this one's my favorite. I love it has a little bit of vanilla in there. I'm not sponsored by this company or anything. I just love them. I've been using them for years. Part of the reason why you want to use loose leaf tea, even if you buy organic tea and it's in a tea bag, the tea bag still has a lot of chemicals in it. So that is one of the reasons why I switched over to using loose leaf tea. But this company, they send these adorable little handwritten cards. They give you a sample pack every time and stickers, and their tea is really, really good. If you wait until they run a sale, sometimes a couple times a year they'll do like a 25% off anything in the store sale, and you can stock up and get it for a great price. Alright, so I've got my tea pitcher put back together. I tested it out by filling up the water to make sure there wasn't anything leaking, that the seal is on tight, because we don't want to be leaking kombucha everywhere. I'm going to put a little bit of this fresh kombucha tea that I just made last night. It's cooled down to room temperature. Okay, just gonna do a little bit, and then we're gonna add in our SCOBY that is in the cupboard. And you notice that color difference? The fresh tea versus the tea that is kombucha. And our SCOBY is looking really nice in there. So we're just gonna gently put this in there, and we'll be able to just gradually add more and more tea until we have this all the way full again. And then you will notice the SCOBY will start to form on the top. From that little one, it'll make a full-size one. Whatever container you put it in, it will make the shape of that container. And then we're going to cover it. We're going to double cheesecloth it and make sure we have it good and tight. I like these cheesecloths. I can put a link to where I got those as well. That one is from an affiliate link, but I really like products that I can use for a long time versus like a one-use cheesecloth. They are very handy to have in your kitchen for all sorts of things. And then the last thing we need to do is just cover this with a towel so the sunlight doesn't get to it. I just use one of my old scrappy towels. So I cover it up, and then I just keep it in the corner over here out of the sunshine, undisturbed, until we're ready to do something else with it. And that is how you can resurrect your kombucha if something happens to it and you don't want to have to go buy a new SCOBY. Hope is not lost. It can be restored. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where you have had something get into your kombucha and you have to restart, what did you do? Did you follow this method or did you do something different? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for hanging out in the kitchen with me today, guys. I will see you next time for another great adventure. Bye.